Hi guys, and welcome to my video on uses and gratifications and Blumler and Katz. So Blumler and Katz were two theorists that began their researching in the late 1960s, and then that went on until later in the 1970s to now what we now know as the uses and gratifications theory. So the main idea behind it is that the media, whether it's a TV programme or a vlog or something else that you're listening to or watching, or both, fulfills a certain need of the audience. So they came up with 4 categories, which are diversion, personal relationships, personal identity, and information and education, which comes under surveillance. So the first one, diversion, is the idea that we enjoy something so much that we feel a sense of escapism. So the best example of that probably is things like fantasy and science fiction or action adventure. It's taking us away from our everyday, ordinary lives to something that's interesting and exciting and different. Or it could be comedy as well, because it's making you laugh, it's entertaining you. And then the next one, personal relationships, is the idea that you have social interaction based on the media text that you enjoy. So for example, you might really enjoy a television programme or a video online that then you share with your friends or you talk about the next day, and it becomes, a talking point or something that you have a conversation about. So that's the next one. The third one, which is personal identity or identification, is when you relate to a character or you relate to a celebrity. So that could be because you're the same age as them and the same gender, or it might be because you have similar relationships to what is shown in terms of that character, or just that you can connect with them in some way and empathise with what they're feeling. The final one, surveillance, is about information and education. So news and current affairs are really good examples of that, where you're finding out information about something, but it also could be how to do something. So for example, a makeup tutorial or something giving you tips on how to improve your cycling in the form of a media text. That's still educating you about a specific area. So in terms of applying the theory, it started off with television when they started first researching. So television sort of fits in best with it, and that's what the theory was initially intended for, although you can apply it to other texts as well. So the idea that, for example, in class, April is shown as a powerful young woman, but also she's a typical teenager in some ways. So for example, when she is caught with Ram, afterwards she's a bit surly with her mum, even though they're shown to be close, and that's something that maybe that you could relate to if you were a teenager and you were in a position where you're sort of starting to date somebody or something like that. So also you could look at Zoella, because although that's not a television programme, it's got some of the same codes and conventions as it is a visual and audio text. So she's shown as very relatable, and people talk about her as well. So you might talk about her to your friends, or you might share something that she's posted, or you might comment and then you might tag somebody else. Or you might retweet something that she's said. So you're using that as a talking point really with your friends. You might also use her as a form of, as a source of information, because she gives things like recipes and makeup tutorials, so you might gather information from that. So that would be a good example of surveillance as well. And also it might fit into the diversion category, because some of her vlogs are just silly fun when she's trying out makeup products or when she's doing the pizza tasting test. It's that sense of just doing something fun that is a little bit different, and she's joking a lot and laughing, and that would make it quite entertaining and quite funny to watch. So there are other examples that you could talk about as well. Obviously we've got Doctor Who if you're on the AQA syllabus. So although it's from a different time period, it's from the 1960s, there are similar representations in terms of school and teenagers, because Susan is a very determined character and very ambitious and intelligent, so you still could relate to her on some level, and definitely the audience of the 1960s would find her relatable. In fact, some people might find her a role model because she's so confident and forthright, which would be less common at that time period. As you might have seen from my 1960s video, gender roles and representations were changing, but that was happening throughout the 1960s. Obviously classes from the early 1960s, so yeah, that would be a good example of that. I hope you found it useful. Remember, it comes under the audience section, and it's about audience power and choice, so you're choosing what you want to watch as an audience member and getting something out of it. Okay, thanks. That's it for now.